And okay. And tomorrow's also an eclipse. I know that when there's eclipses on the horizon, that can also be a cause of disruption. So we literally have like, you know, eight different things that are probably impacting our rhythms, our sleep. So I feel like I'm a little off center here. There we go. That's a little bit better. So with that said, I actually would like to start today with some silk. Good morning, Kathleen. Yay, I've got everyone here today. We're going to start off today with some silk reeling. So this is, or oiling the joints. Um, just because I feel like with the oscillation of temperatures, things kind of getting a little bit cranky because as the weather is warmer, our body sort of starts to open up, and then when it gets cold really quickly, our bodies don't necessarily can adapt as quickly, and then we get tighter, and then it can set off a whole cascade of events. So let's start with some silk reeling. So let's just intertwine the fingers, and we're just going to start with creating some movement specifically in the wrist. So if the fingers are entwined, we're just going to start making the sort of ellipse or sort of serpentine motion so that we're moving energy through the fingers, through the hands, through the wrists, just starting to get some fluid moving in there. Getting those joints nice and lubricated. And then let's start to incorporate a little bit of elbow action. So just bringing the elbows forward and keep the hips nice and loose. And then we start to get a little bit of action through the hips as well, and then the shoulders. So as you see, as my left hip comes forward, the left elbow and shoulder come forward, and then the right. So we're moving the joints of the elbow, the shoulder, and the hips. And then bring the elbow almost, see if we can get a little bit of height here so that we're really opening up the shoulder girdle so that the elbow comes almost up towards maybe the corner of the room or the ceiling. And then loosening up the hips. So we're just moving from the waist, stretching the elbow up and then stretching it forward. So you can see you get a nice stretch in the upper back between the shoulder blades. Loosening up, and the spine here gets a little bit of mobility as well. So we're moving forward. Should feel nice, especially the right between the shoulder blades. And then we'll pause here, and now let's pull the shoulder and the elbow back. So as the hip rolls back, the shoulder and the elbow come back. So we're just kind of doing like a mini backstroke here, except our hands are clasped. Yeah, so silk reeling, it's helping these major joints like the hips, the shoulders, especially these big, these big joints. We're just helping to kind of gain some mobility here, loosening everything up. And then let's come to the center. Keep your hands clasped and then extend the arms in front of you so that your palms are facing you. And then we'll move on the breath. So as you inhale, just bring your palms towards your chest. And then on the exhale, flip your palms so they're facing out, and then extend the arms out on the exhale. So we're inhale, pulling in, and then exhale, rounding the upper back. The chin can tuck down slightly on the exhale. Nice slow inhale. Nice slow exhale. Inhale and exhale. Now let's keep the fingers clasped and just bring your hands now reaching towards the ceiling. Take a nice inhale, really stretch through. You can press the heels of the feet down. And as you do, you're extending the palms of your hands up towards the sky. And then on the exhale, just keep your fingers clasped and just bring them right under your chin. And then exhale, bring your elbows almost to touch, like you're squeezing everything out. And then on the inhale, we're just going to float the arms back up. And then on the exhale, so we're using the arms to sort of pretend you can actually squeeze your lungs. We're just using a little contraction to squeeze out a little bit more of that air. And then inhale, we're able to really fill up. And now come upright. Keep your fingers clasped, stretch them out in front. So as you keep the fingers and arms reaching forward, now just swing them gently over to the left. And as you do, you turn and look right. So use your left hand and sort of pull that right arm across a little bit more, and you should feel it in your shoulder blade, the shoulder area. And if you turn and look, you'll get a little stretch in the neck. Now come to the center, and then now extend over to the right. So that right hand should pull that left arm across, and then turn and look left. And then back to the center. We'll do that a few times. So we're just keeping the arms extended so that actually you should feel a little stretch in the outer right arm all the way into the right shoulder blade. And then back to the center, over to the right and look left. Let's do one more to each side. So over to the left and look right. And then over to the right and look left. And then drop the arms down. Take them out a little bit. Let's do a little stretch there now. So spreading the feathers, palms facing the earth. Let the head tilt over to the left. And then slowly inhale, let the head roll back. And then exhale, let it roll forward. Nice and slow. You get a real deep stretch all through the neck. And then let the head come to the center, and then let's roll over now to the right. Press down through the palms of the hands and the fingertips. And then the head roll back and forward. And let the head come to the center. Let the arms float down. Bring the head upright. All right, so we've moved all the joints. So things should feel maybe a little looser. Let's come to a wider stance. And let's do a wider stance knocking on the door of life. So it feels a little bit different because there's going to be more of a weight shift. So we just start knocking across the lower abdomen and the back, and you see there's a little weight shift from the right foot to the left foot. So working a little bit more into the hips, the hip joint. But we're still letting the arms be nice and loose. You might feel a little bit more into the inside of the legs, the adductors. And let's come up below the collarbone. And then all the way to the top of the shoulders. Because we're in a wider stance, the spine actually has to rotate just a little bit more too. So it's a little bit, I would consider this a little deeper of a knocking on the door of life. Especially in the lower, the lumbar area. And then come back down below the collarbone. And then down to the waist. And let's start to slowly unwind. Okay. So I think I'd like to do a little, we'll do a little warrior. So let's keep our hips are either going to be facing forward or slightly at an angle. So let's take your right foot and turn it so your toes are facing the right side of the room. And you can either keep your left foot where it is or sneak it back towards the back side of your mat. Whatever feels good in terms of the length of your warrior, we're going to bend into that front knee. So that back leg should be, your knee can be slightly bent, but you're not going to be in a very deep bend, just enough so it feels like you have some freedom in the hips. But your front knee should be tracking just in line with your toes. And I'm going to float the arms out to the sides. So if you can see yourself, I don't know if you have your camera on or not. So just kind of see where your neutral position is, meaning if you find that one arm is a little bit lower than the other, see if you can float it back up or just look right and left. You can probably sense if one is a little bit lower. The back arm represents the past, which can sometimes feel a little heavy. And the front is our future. So we're going to kind of lift everything up so that the past maybe doesn't feel so heavy. We're going to glean and pull the wisdom and the gold from what's happened in the past to inform us where we are now and to help set our sights on where we want to go. But let's start with inhaling. So you're going to straighten that front leg as the palms come to the center of the chest on the inhale. And then on the exhale, bend that front leg and float the arms out. And turn and look over your front hand. So the inhale, we straighten that front leg, bring the palms to the center, and then exhale, it floats out. The arms float out. Nice and slow. Inhale and exhale. You should feel a little stretch through the hips here. Inhale. Inhale to the center. And then exhale, looking over that front finger. So we want to pull our experiences, right? And extract, right? There are lessons, right? In everything that we've experienced, what can we kind of pull, even from the stuff that didn't feel so great? We can maybe pull some wisdom from that so that we're able to have vision in where we want to go, using the wisdom and the gold from our past experiences, but not feeling so weighted down by it. Right? Not pulling the lead with us. We're going to pull the gold. Just like the yin yang symbol, within the dark, there's a speck of light, and within the light, there's a speck of dark. Let's do one more exhale. And then inhale, let's come to the center now. So you can turn that right foot so it's facing forward. So both are facing forward. And then let's do heart to the sky. So inhale, look up, and exhale to the center. And inhale. And one more, inhale. And exhale. So we'll continue that nice slow breath now to the opposite side. So turning that left foot, wiggle your toes, make sure they're facing the left, and then bend into that front knee. Just look back, like make sure you can see your feet and that your front knee is pointing across or over, hovering over the toes. So it's not collapsing in or out. And then inhale and float the arms up. Keep those wrists nice and loose. And again, just kind of look back, look forward. Are you about even, or is the past a little leady? And kind of inhale, bring them back up to a level position. Now in the next inhale, straighten that front leg, come to the center. And then exhale, again, just float the arms out. Just imagine that you're unfurling like you're a bird, right? Just opening, expanding these wings. Inhale to the center. And exhale. The back leg should be sort of stationary, meaning you're not really bending. You don't want to lock it either. Keep it slightly bent so that you have the freedom to go into a bend in the front knee. And you can have a more narrow stance if that feels okay. Inhaling to the center. Exhale, the arms float out. You're looking past those front fingers. We were integrating and pulling from the past into the present moment, and then allowing for a little direction where we want to go. One more inhale and exhale. Now bring your left foot so it's facing forward, hands at the center of the chest, and then heart to the sky. Inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. One more inhale. And exhale. Let's grab one wrist with the opposite hand, stretch up, and then keeping your knees slightly bent, let's fold forward. And then you can let your hands rest on the ground or on your thighs. But see if you can let your head be nice and heavy so that you're releasing all through the upper back. The head creates a little bit of traction through the whole spine. Mm. And getting a nice stretch down the hamstrings, down the calves. And then we'll slowly roll all the way up. One last stretch up. And then exhale the arms down around. And let's come to a now stance. You can shake your legs out. I didn't set my timer here, so we're gonna go into our flows. Let me just get this ready so I don't lose track of time. And there we go. Perfect. Okay. So let's shake everything out. So before we go into our flows. So bouncing the knees so that we're getting a little shaking action into the hips, shaking the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders, like the head be nice and loose. And then let's bring the arms up to about shoulder height, letting the wrist be nice and relaxed. So we're getting a stretch through the inner arms, the heart channel, and then face down. So we're opening up the outside of the forearms. And then maybe bring the arms all the way overhead, shaking the hands. And then down to about shoulder height. And then all the way down. And start to slow down. All right. So I think today we'll start with a little combination of flying and open the flow. So we'll start with the arms out to the side. So on the inhale, you're going to float your arms up to about shoulder height. And then on the exhale, the elbows drop down first and then the rest of the arms. So it creates a little bit of a ripple. So we inhale, we float up. And then exhale, the elbows relax down and then the arms float back down. Inhaling up and then exhaling down. Starting to feel maybe a little lightness. And softness. In QiGong and I think a lot of martial arts practice, softness overcomes hard and slow overcomes hastiness or that which is moving very fast. So we're creating some softness and slow movements of fluidity. Inhaling lightness, and then the exhale, we maintain some of that lightness as we float back down. Maybe feeling a little even lighter as like birds gain height. We're soaring up bit by bit so that when we look down, everything below is getting just a little bit smaller and smaller and smaller. And as we look ahead, there's this vast expanse of possibility and freedom and softness. Now we'll incorporate the open the flow. So as we exhale, bring the arms down, and this time inhale your arms forward. So inhale up to about shoulder height, elbows drop, and the arms float back down. Now to the sides. Inhale, they float up, and exhale down. And again, inhale to the center, and exhale. So we'll just continue this movement, floating the arms up and down, allowing the breath to be slow and rhythmic and soft. And as we do, the mind becomes quiet and soft. Now bring the arms down for a moment to our chi ball, just tapping into that energy between the palms, and actually look at your hands and curl your fingers in slightly. So almost like you don't want the fingers to touch, but imagine that you're pointing your pointer fingers towards one another, your middle, the ring finger and the pinky and the thumbs, they're pointing towards one another. And maybe gently pull them apart all the way so you're making a bigger space between the two. Now relax the hands and then allow them to come back towards one another. And as you do, curl the fingers again so they're reaching towards one another. And then inhale, I'm going to pull them gently apart. And then they relax as we exhale back in. So almost like there's little tiny threads that are linked between the fingers of the right hand and the left. And we're just playing with connecting, maintaining that connection as we gently pull apart, and then exhale, we soften them back in together. So from here, we are going into pulling the gossamer thread. So maintaining that imagery of these invisible threads that we connect from our fingertips outward. So we've done this before. Well, I'm going to go real slow. So it's going to be open the flow to the 6 directions, but we're going to be using our fingertips, tapping our thumb to the index finger first, middle finger, ring finger, and then pinky as we move. So we start on the inhale, the thumb and the index finger touch as we inhale up and in. Now the thumbs touch the middle finger as we push forward. Now the thumb and the ring finger as you inhale and pull back in. And now the thumbs and the pinky fingers as we extend to the sides of the room. And now all fingers touch, the thumbs touch. And then inhale to the center of your forehead. And then open the hands and then exhale back down. And again. So the index finger and thumb touch as we inhale and draw in. And then the middle finger and thumb as we exhale slowly and push out. Ring finger and thumb as we inhale and pull in. And then the thumbs and the pinky fingers touch as we extend to the sides of the room. And then all the fingers and thumb together. And then inhale to the center of the forehead. Open the hands and then exhale down. And again, so the the index finger. And then exhale forward the middle finger. Inhale, draw in with the index finger. Exhale to the sides, touching the pinky. And then all fingers together as we draw in. And then exhale. So pulling the gossamer thread, this invisible network, this web that's connecting all of us, that's part of this field, this invisible field. And this practice is about how we can take the energy from nature around us and draw it in and integrate to help us feel whole, to help us feel healthy and energetic. So pulling the gossamer threads is pulling up the threads of this intelligence, this universal energy, this energy of nature, pulling it in and having this intricate dialogue, energetic dialogue, where we're exchanging. Oops, not paying attention. Exhale, pinky. We're drawing in this energy of vitality. Connecting to ultimately, what do they say? I think there's our makeup is essentially that of stardust, the chemical compounds, right? So we're literally just reconnecting to a bigger version of us that's all connected. And we're just little drops of manifestation, like little drops that fall back into the ocean. A reminder of that interconnectedness, that this energy is here for us if we remind ourselves that it's there and how to align ourselves with it so that we're able to absorb, receive, and ultimately feel that life force. Let's inhale and then exhale, bring our hands back to our chi ball for a moment. And let's do the curling of the fingers again. And as we inhale, gently pull them apart. And then on the exhale, relax the fingers, open up the hands as they come back towards one another. And inhale. And let's go into our standing posture. Lower, embrace the tree just for a moment. Feeling like we're aligning ourselves again in that current. We're just plugging ourselves right in so that we're feeling that charge. We're feeling charged up. Right? When we're feeling depleted, we can come back into, drop into this space where we breathe slowly, deeply, softly, and we charge ourselves back up. And then let's bring your left hand so that it's above your head, but the palm is facing down. This is eating the moon cream, right? So now that we've tapped in with the Gossamer's thread, pulling the Gossamer's thread, eating the moon cream, right? The moon is the light of the sun reflected, right? So kind of consolidating all of that energy and then banking it. So take a nice inhale, and on the exhale, let that top hand float down towards the bottom. And as you do, slightly bend the knees. So we're kind of condensing down. So we're almost like holding a chi ball, but from top and bottom. Now condense, condense, and then just like a spring, right? Once there's that a lot of resistance, what does it do? It opens back up. So straightening the legs, that hand floats back up. Now windmill your hands so the left arm is down and the right arm is up. Inhale and then exhale so the top hand floats down, bending the knees, creating that little bit of resistance. And then inhale like a spring, we open back up, gathering on the inhale. And then on the exhale, bringing everything in and consolidating into our center. And inhale. And exhale. That clear, vibrant, illuminating moon energy, like our own reflection, our consciousness, our light is getting reflected back to us. Inhale nice and slowly, gathering. consolidating. And on the next exhalation, just let that top hand float all the way back down. We'll go into our Qi ball one more time, maybe curling the fingers and expanding, and then relaxing and consolidating. And let the arms drop down. Now this time, inhale the arms all the way up, and then just stack one hand on top of the other. They don't have to touch. And as we exhale down, the one hand is in front of one another. It's a little different variation of pulling down the sky. So inhale, one hand on top of the other. And then as you exhale, you're keeping the hands a little stacked now, one in front of the other as we come all the way down. And again, inhale. I'm just coming down the center channel, the Ren channel in Chinese medicine. Inhale. The center line of energy that consolidates in the lower abdomen. And then you can bring your feet together, bringing the hands below the belly button, one on top of the other. And then let's just pause here for a moment. Feeling rooted and soft, open, but grounded and connected simultaneously. And when you're ready, you can crack your eyes open. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you.
great weekend and enjoy the warm weather tomorrow.
You too, you too.